Krishna That's why I listed this. So now, Hare Krishna Mantra.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Let us first give a big hand to all those people who led the Kirtan today. Wonderfully. Now let us give a big hand to those people who supported this Kirtan. Hare. Thank you very much for all of you who spared time today from your busy schedule and made it possible today. We all are thankful to you and grateful. And today's program we have specially arranged basically to have the blessings from all of you for our daughter Divya, who just completed her graduation. Soon on July 1st, she is going to start her residency program. So we thought before she starts, she should have the blessings from all the devotees. So I'm especially thankful to Jagannath Mishra Prabhu, who has helped her, guided her time to time. I think for last almost 8 years or 10 years, he has been continuously guiding her from time to time how to take up the subject, what subject she should take, how she should do. And in completing this long journey, he has been a big instrument. That's a big So Prabhuji has guided her from time to time for completing the medical school and given her all guidance from the material platform as well as from the spiritual platform also from time to time. But today I will specifically request Prabhuji to give her the enlightenment. How can she use this education in Krishna service? So today the Prabhu will give that guidance to her. So how can she engage herself and how can she use this education in Krishna service? Let us give a big hand to Prabhuji. And I also request Raghav, please come and honor Prabhuji with a garland. Welcome. Her to come this program today because of her orientation going on there, and the person who made it possible and who drove almost 1,000 kilometers today to bring her specially from Cleveland, that Prabhu is Kingsley Prabhu. Let us give a big hand. There was no flight connection after her class to make it possible to attend this program. So he specifically started early in the morning, drove to Cleveland, and brought her here right now. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama So today I've been asked by Radhika Prabhu to give a class, and I'm not qualified to give a class, but I'll attempt to share with you some what I've learned from the scriptures. So thank you all for putting up with this, and I hope I can share with you some of the knowledge from the Vedic scriptures announced by our acharyas. So as was said just a while ago, that 2 days ago was the disappearance day of one of the most prominent acharyas in the movement. So for some of the people that are new to the movement, I think what I'll do is I'll just go back and explain what the meaning of acharya is. So we know that there are 4 basic roots that stem from Lord Krishna, the 4 sampradayas. So sampradaya basically means a path that actually leads directly to the Supreme Personality Godhead. And there are 4 sampradayas, of which the sampradaya that we follow is called Rama, Gaudiya, Vaishnava, Madhava sampradaya. So that sampradaya actually starts from Lord Brahma. Okay, there's another sampradaya that starts from Lord Shiva, known as the Rudra sampradaya. There's a sampradaya that starts from Mother Lakshmi, known as the Sri sampradaya, and the 4 Kumaras. Okay, so each of these sampradayas have a representative. So our representative is Madhvacharya. And our current representative is Srila Prabhupada. And his Grand Master is Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is the father of the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada. So that way it puts it into context who Bhaktivinoda Thakur is. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur appeared in the 19th century, early 19th century in West Bengal, and I'll say a bit about his glories. It's impossible to tell his glories all in one class because all these acharyas have unlimited qualities. Unlimited meaning that you don't know where to start from, and you do not know where to end. So at least we'll make some humble attempt to explain the glories of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So, and for today's class, and for Divya as well, so since she's embarking on a major new chapter in her life in becoming a specialized doctor, I thought I'd share with you how an acharya can lead by example and what we can learn from an acharya. So the way that we can lead is we follow properly. If we do not follow properly, then we cannot lead properly. So which is the verse in the Bhagavad Gita that tells us? So this verse is actually in the 3rd chapter in text 21. So this is a famous verse, okay? And it goes as follows, goes as Yad Yad Acharya Shrestas Tat Tat Evataro Jana Tad Kurva Anuvartate Lokas Tad Anuvartate. So what that means is that whatever example a great man does, common to follow, whatever standards he sets, the whole world pursues. Okay, so the example that's given is that of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So if we follow the footsteps of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we can actually change the whole world and lead everyone back to Lord Krishna. So you might say that how can a man lead us back to Lord Krishna directly? So I'll give you the reason why. So 2 days ago was the disappearance day of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So before we understand who is Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we have to understand what is the lineage from which he came from. So this weekend, actually I just remembered that this weekend is a very, very special weekend, and because of limitation of time, we do not have the time to explain all these wonderful events that are going on, but we know that, for example, in ISKCON Toronto, and I invite all of you to come tomorrow, there's a Snan Yatra for Jagannath Baldev Subhadra. So please come and attend that program and look at the blessings of the lordships of the Supreme Personality Godhead. Because after that, then they'll prepare to have the Rath Yatra in 2 weeks after that. So the Rath Yatra in Jagannath Puri is actually happening, and we know that there was also the cleanup of the Gundicha temple, of which the daily stay for 8 days before they go back to the main temple. So they stay there for 8 days before they go back to the main temple in Jagannath Puri. So this is called the Gundicha Marjana. So how does that relate to Bhaktivinoda Thakur? Well, to get from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we have to go through his predecessors. And one of his predecessors is actually Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya's eternal companion is known as Gadadhar Pandit. So Gadadhar Pandit, if you look in the Vaishnava calendar, Gadadhar Pandit also had his disappearance day on the same day as Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So one might question, well, is this a coincidence or is this not a coincidence? Well, I'll actually show to you it's not a coincidence that his disappearance day falls on the same day as Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and we'll explain why that is. Okay, so Bhaktivinoda Thakur is in a lineage from Brahma, Narad, Vyas, and Madhava, and so forth, all the way down to Lord Chaitanya, and then so on. So from Lord Krishna to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, there are 28 acharyas in between. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is the 29th. The 30th is Gorkishore Das Babji Maharaj. 31st is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, Prabhupada's spiritual master. And the 32nd is Srila Prabhupada. Now the question is, who's the 33rd? Well, we know that the 33rd, as described in the acharyas, are all the Vaishnavas here. So that's the 33rd spiritual master, because we're all spiritual masters to each other, either through Diksha Guruship or through Siksha Guruship. That means either we formally initiate someone or we give them instructions. So we're all spiritual masters in one way or another. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur has been mentioned in the scriptures that he's the eternal servant of Lord Krishna. So what is the proof for that? Well, his son, who's an authorized acharya, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, has said that he's Lord Chaitanya's Prasad. So what does Prasad mean? Prasad means the confidential servant, okay? So the word Prasad means, in other words, mercy, or as we commonly know it, as food that's offered to Krishna and is consecrated, and then we honor it. But in this text, Prasad means the confidential servant. So we know that this word actually appears a few times in Bhagavatam. For example, the very important verse that is known in Bhagavatam appears in Canto 11, in which it is said that Krishna Vanam Krisha Krishna Sangopanga Asra Prasadam. So Prasadam means the confidential associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sangha Panga Ashtra, that means his close associates and their associates. Sangha Panga Ashtra, his weapons are the confidential companions of Lord Chaitanya. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality Godhead. He's none other than Lord Krishna, okay? But what happened was that after he left this planet and after his entourage left, people started thinking that he was a great saint and he was a great man, but they started forgetting that he was actually the Supreme Personality Godhead. So what happened was that Bhaktivinoda Thakur appeared to remind us that Lord Chaitanya is actually the Supreme Personality Godhead. And what he does is that he actually serves the Supreme Personality Godhead, Lord Chaitanya, by being the servant of a servant of a servant. So how is that? So in the inner circle of Lord Krishna, there are the gopis, okay? And without going into the esoteric subject matter of the gopis, we understand that there are 8 primary gopis that are helping H.G.Radhiga, okay? And one of the, actually the main gopi that's helping H.G.Radhiga is Lalita Devi, okay? So Lalita Devi is in transcendental or spiritual time elder, although there's no mention of time in spiritual world, but she's actually elder to Srimati Radharani. So she's the primary gopi that helps Lord Krishna and other gopis enjoy the pastimes. So out of her group, there are a group of assistants called the Sakhis, okay? And of those Sakhis, there are then the Manjaris, who are younger in age, and there's the chief Manjari, who's known as Rupa Manjari. So Rupa Manjari is a link to Lalita to help Lord Krishna. So Rupa Manjari is none other than Rupa Goswami, okay, who appeared about 500 years ago at the time of Lord Chaitanya. So Rupa Goswami's main chief Manjari is Kamala Manjari, who's none other than Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So it is said, for example, in the scriptures, in one of his books in Gita Mala, it is actually said, he says specifically that Lalita Sakhi Ayogya Kinkari. So he says that in that Gita Mala, which is one of the many, many books that he wrote, he says that I'm Kamala Manjari and I'm here to help Lalita Sakhi through Rupa Manjari. So we know what his ontological position is, what is his true position. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is not an ordinary person. He's actually very, very close to the Manjaris, who are very, very close to Sakhis, who are very, very close to the inner circle of Radharani. And it is also said that he never ages. We know that the Sakhis never age, just like Lord Krishna is known as Nava Kishora, and Radharani is known as Nava Kishori. That is, they never age, okay? They're always less than the age of 16. So many the Manjaris never age beyond the age of 12 and a half. So they're always before the age of puberty, so they never actually get beyond that age. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in terms of eternal life, is always as a young Manjari. But we see him that he ages in the material world. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, why did he descend? As was mentioned that after Lord Chaitanya, after the golden age of Lord Chaitanya, when he basically completely transcended and completely transformed the area of India, there was still work to do. First of all, was that a lot of opera sampradayas. So we just mentioned sampradaya means an authentic followers of Lord Krishna. Okay? But then there are opera sampradayas. These are the non-authentic. These pseudo-gurus came about. These rascals, these non-authorized gurus, they actually came, and there are actually 13 of them. There's one Babaji known as Totaram Babaji, and he actually came some years around the time that Bhaktivinoda Thakur was. So Totaram Babaji was a special Babaji. He actually had come to Vrindavan down to study Nyaya. Nyaya is the logic underlying the scripts, okay, the Vedas. But what happened was that in his dream, Lord Chaitanya came and he said, no, you must go back to Navadvip, and I will empower you to transform these 13 sampradayas into telling them that I am the Supreme Personality Godhead. So he went back to Navadvip, empowered by Lord Chaitanya, and he transformed all these foolish asampradayas into telling them that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Supreme Personality Godhead. And also, not only that, but they had forgotten to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. So just like we chanted, so some of you may ask, why did we chant the Hare Krishna mantra? Why did we chant like, Durga Puja or let's say Lakshmi Puja? Is because that is the prescribed method for this age. So the process of worship and rituals is bygone in other ages. We know that, for example, in Treta Yuga, that is the age in which we do rituals and sacrifices. But in this age, is the Yuga Dharma for this age is Nam Sankirtan. That is the chanting of the holy names of Krishna and Holy Krishna. So he went to remind these people in West Bengal that the chanting of the holy names is the Yuga Dharma for this age. That's a prescribed method for this age. And there's no other way, no other way, no other way, as you know in the famous verse in Brihad Naragya Purana. So anyhow, the statement is that Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually appeared back in 1838, and appeared on a very special day on September 2nd, 1838. Now, I don't know the Rashi or the Tithi at the time, but we can look it up later on. But anyhow, in terms of our calendar, it was 1838, September the 2nd. It was a Sunday. So, from a young age, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a warrior. Okay, so Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a warrior. How was he a warrior? Because he had actually been empowered. He was a Avesha Rupa. He was an avatar of the Shakti of Lord Chaitanya. We know that his pranam, when he says pranam mantra, it goes as follows. It goes Namo Bhaktivinodaya Sachinandaya Namine. Good. So Gora Shakti Srupaya Rupunaga Rayate. So that basically means that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has actually given him the personal energy. When you say Gora Shakti Srupaya, that is Gora Shakti, the Shakti of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has been instilled in Bhaktivinoda Thakur to actually spread the holy message of Lord Chaitanya. So unless one is empowered, we know that from the scriptures, from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's a verse that says, unless one is empowered, he cannot preach the gospel or the Harinam of Lord Chaitanya. This is not possible. We know that, for example, when people come to the program, they hear the Hare Krishna mantra, but when they go back, they forget it. But the people that are empowered are the ones that actually go out on the street, do distribution, do 9 passes of devotional service. They're actually empowered to do this service. So this empowerment actually comes from your guru, from the Shiksha gurus, Diksha gurus, and all the other people in line from Lord Krishna. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is actually empowered, and furthermore, he's known as Rupanuga Vrayate. So what does that mean, Rupanuga Vrayate? Rupanuga Vrayate means that he is the best and most ardent follower of Rupanuga. Who's Rupanuga? So Anuga means follower of Rupa. And who's Rupanuga? He's Rupa Goswami. So that explains how he is the Kamala Manjari, who is the follower of Rupa Manjari, who's none other than Rupa Goswami. So when we say Rupanuga Vrayate, that title is only given to Bhaktivinoda Thakur because no one else can have that title. No Acharya has ever received that title before or will ever receive that title in the future. he holds that title because he's the confidential associate and the best associate of Rupa Goswami. So Rupa Goswami is the chief Goswami of the six Goswamis. And in fact, later on, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was actually given the title the seventh Goswami. And why was he given the title? Because he was a very, very prolific writer. He wrote many, many books. Over 100 books he wrote. He wrote over 200 poems, some of which have been sung today. For example, we sang Yashamati Nandana. The Gaur Arati, which we sing every day, is written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Gopinath is written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. H.G.Radhiga is Bhaktivinoda Thakur. The list goes on and on and on. Jeev Jog was written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So some of the commonly known bhajans are written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Now, so we mentioned that there are a lot of Apasampradayas. So there was this one Apasampradaya known as the Atavadi Sampradaya that existed in Puri. Okay, so the chief of this Apasampradaya was known as Vikeshwan. So his name was Vikeshwan. So he was actually a pseudo-yogi, but he was a very, very powerful pseudo-yogi. And he was basically a threat to the British monarchy. He actually had significant powers. He's not an ordinary yogi, he actually was a tantric yogi. So people were very, very scared of him. So what he used to do is that he used to actually cure people of diseases that doctors could not even treat. In fact, I think at that time doctors were probably unemployed at that time. So thank God he's not here at this time, otherwise I think Divya and myself would not be able to, get any employment. Anyways, there are other types of rakshas nowadays, but besides the point is that he was a very, very powerful yogi, and he used to cure anyone that used to come in front of him. And because of that, he gained the confidence of the common man. So the people used to start to think that this person is God, and he actually claimed that he was God. He said that I'm Mahavishnu, okay? And he had two other followers known as Mahesh and Brahma. So he said, we are the three Murti, so you have to come and pray to us. I'm Mahavishnu, this follower is Mahesh, and this is Brahma. So people started believing that this is the Trinity that have come to save the world. All because they'd forgotten the teachings of Mahaprabhu. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur knew that this rascal existed just outside of Puri. He actually lived in a jungle outside of Puri. And he was a threat to the British monarchy. Now Bhaktivinoda Thakur, if you remember, he actually was a representative of the British monarchy. He was actually he was assigned as a district magistrate court in Krishnanagar, which is not too far from where he appeared. So Krishnanagar is a place in West Bengal, still exists. So he was a district magistrate of that area. So being a magistrate, he was a representative of the Queen. Okay, so the British actually knew the power of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and they actually sent Bhaktivinoda Thakur to demolish this rascal yogi. Okay, but the British were too afraid because they knew that this yogi, he actually threatened the British monarchy, saying that I will actually take down the whole British Empire. He actually said that threat, and the British monarchy, in fact, it is said that the local viceroy knew about this person but could not do anything, so they were all very worried. But they knew that Bhaktivinoda Thakur had some sort of power as well, because he was a very, very revered man. So he went and actually met with this yogi. So when he went and met him in his so-called ashram outside the precincts of Jagannath Puri in the jungle, this yogi actually, he was surrounded by many, many thousands of people that were following him, and they were doing all sorts of yagyas and so forth, nonsense things. And it said that he used to, he had this long hair, and he used to actually, when he used to bring fire out of his hair, when he used to see people that he hated, flames would come out of his eyes, and he used to threaten anyone and actually kill them. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur, being a pure devotee, was undeterred, went and saw him. And immediately this yogi knew that this was a special person that had come and seen him, because he was not to be deterred. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur basically told him, in fact, this person knew who he was. He knew that this was Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and in fact, he had the power to read someone's mind. So because of this yogic austerities, if you came in front of him, he could read what was going on in your mind. Okay, so he knew what was going on. He knew the background of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He explained to him that you were born at such and such time. You're Kedarnath Datta, which is actually his name. He said you're Kedarnath Datta, born as that in Ulagram, which is a place, and so forth, which is near Nadia. And these are your 10 children. Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually had more than 10 children, but 10 children that are alive. He named all her names. He said that your wife is Bhagavati Devi, and so forth. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur knew what he was trying to do. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur told him, he said that, why are you living in the jungle? When you say that you're Mahavishnu, why aren't you taking residence in the temple of Puri? Okay, well, he said, Lord Jagannath, the Supreme Personality of God is there. Why are you not in the temple? He said, oh, that Lord Jagannath, what is he? He's simply a piece of wood. Okay? He said that Lord Jagannath is simply a piece of wood, and I am Mahavishnu. Okay? Because I can burn the 3 worlds. He had so much ego, he said, I can burn the 3 worlds. And he said, I'm going to do that. Then Bhaktivinoda Thakur got upset and he asked him, do you know who is Lord Chaitanya? He said, oh, Lord Chaitanya is my devotee. So this rascal said that Lord Chaitanya is my devotee. So that time, immediately, Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, okay, I got to start, I have to jail this guy because he's causing a lot of problem. But it's not easy to jail this guy. So he got about, I think, 100, 200 constables and the British constable and the local Indian police to actually go to this yogi. But when they came close to him, he actually let out fire from his head and started putting flames, and they started becoming very afraid, so he ran away. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur had to actually capture this yogi on his own. So talking to him, he said, no, I will capture you. So he got these people again, these policemen, and they captured him. So the yogi said that, oh, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, because you're a devotee, you're a pure devotee, I'll accept your power. He said that because I'm Mahavishnu, Mahavishnu says in Brahma Samhita that I'm the cause of all causes, I'm Adi Keshava, I'm the start and the end, and basically my devotee never perishes. So I've come to protect you, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I'll protect you because in Bhagavad Gita he says that Krishna will break his promise for his devotee and so forth, so I'll protect you. So he said all this rubbish. So anyways, he went to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur locked him up in the jail. Okay? So this devotee, this pseudo devotee, all his followers came and they raised a big fuss because they thought, they asked Bhaktivinoda Thakur, how can you put Mahavishnu, who's Lord and God, in jail? But anyways, he didn't plead to the claims. And what Bhaktivinoda Thakur did is that he got all the evidence from the local people. He actually found that some people were very upset with this yogi. Why? Because this yogi was actually taking advantage of his yogi powers. He actually got some of the young women in that area and he used to spend time with them in illicit affairs. And some of the local people, and in fact kings of the local area, some of their wives were actually molested by this yogi. But they could not do anything because he was so powerful. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur got all this evidence and presented it in the court. And anyhow, the long story short is that at the end of the 18 days of trial, this yogi was basically considered, he was actually pronounced as a threat to British rule. Because of that because you cannot, at that time you had to have legal evidence to basically prosecute someone. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, being a magistrate, he was able to prosecute him successfully. But that actually did not come without any price. So this yogi actually had very, as I said, he had some tantric powers. He actually made one of the daughters of Bhaktivinoda Thakur sick. On the 6th day of the trial, 18-day trial, his daughter known as Kadambini was actually struck with a high fever, so much so that they thought that they were going to lose her. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur was undeterred. He knew that he was going to put down this yogi. But his wife, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's wife, and the mother of his daughter was very worried. She said, my dear Prabhu, please stop doing what you're doing. This yogi is going to devastate her family. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur, being a pure devotee and undeterred, had pure faith in Lord Chaitanya, that he knew he was going to prosecute him. So the last day of the trial, the 18-day trial, what happened was that this yogi actually, the night before the last day of the trial, he knew that he had lost his case, okay? So he used his tantric powers to actually attack Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So in this book, written by one of the biographers, it is said that at 10 o'clock, the night before the last day of the court trial, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, just as he's ready to go to bed, well actually he did not go to bed. The story is that he would wake up, he would go to bed at between 8 and 10 o'clock. And then between 10 and 8 p.m. and 4 a.m., he used to write all these books, okay? So he used to write all these books and he used to only take rest for a few hours before 10 o'clock. So at 10 o'clock, when he was ready to write down some books, he got the sudden sharp pain on the right side of his chest. And he thought that he was, it was a very, very severe pain. He thought that he would not be able to live till the morning. But because of his chanting and purity, he actually sustained his pain until the morning, but could not get out of bed. So they had to carry Bhaktivinoda Thakur on a palanquin because he's determined to get to the court to give the last day of the trial. Otherwise, if he's not able to go there this person would be let loose. So they carried him on a palanquin, and there he presented his evidence. And at the time that he presented evidence, the pain vanished. So they led this yogi out of the court, and then all of a sudden, they noted that he had these long mats of hair. So one of the doctors in the courthouse, his name is Dr. Walters, he's a British doctor, immediately got a pair of scissors and cut all the hairs. Yogi jumped on him on the behind, cut all his hairs, and what happened is Yogi fell back. He completely became unconscious. So his followers that were in the courthouse, this Yogi said, my God, he became unconscious. They never seen this before. So all of a sudden their faith was shattered. So they said, no, he's a pseudo yogi. So anyway, the story is that he went to jail. He was given 3 months in jail, and he did not last 3 months. After 2 months or so, he took poison and he died. So that was one of the main victories of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. There's many other stories as well. There's a story, for example, that later on this Balaram came, not Balaram, but another Balaram came. He said that I am the expansion of Lord Krishna. Some Bhagavad devotee, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, actually defeated him, destroyed him. Then another person by the name of Brahma came, and so forth. So all these Asapandayas came, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur killed them all, or destroyed them all. He never killed them. Okay, so in terms of life, his life and his achievements, he was on the Grest ashram. Okay, at the age of 2, when Bhaktivinoda Thakur, after he appeared, he wrote a poem at the age of 2. Now, many of us don't even know what a pen is at the age of 2, but he actually wrote a poem at the age of 2. And then at the age of 7, he had read the whole Mahabharata and the whole Raman, and actually was able to give a whole treatise on this. Not only could he memorize the whole text, but he was able to explain it very nicely. And at the age of 9, he had mastered the whole astrological text. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur, being a young boy, he knew that there was something more to this. He knew that he was not getting satisfaction with this. Just like Vyasadeva was not getting satisfaction writing the 4 Vedas, and he was instructed by his guru to write the Srimad Bhagavatam, he knew that there's something more than this. Now, of course, this is all Leela, because he's always the Nitya Leela Avesh Rupa avatar. He knew that he's always directly in line with Lord Krishna, but he did this. Why? To remind us that we have to go back to Lord Krishna through seva, through seva. So he did a lot of seva. For the next 20-30 years, he wrote many books. And by the time of 1885, he was given the title of Bhaktivinoda. So up until that time, they used to call him Kedarnath Babaji or Kedarnath Datta. Later on, he became Babaji. He took Diksha initiation from one Vipin Bihari Goswami. Okay, so Vipin Bihari Goswami gave him an initiation. But if you look in the Sampradaya picture, which is to my right, if you look at the first, the first guru, it's Srila Prabhupada, starting from the left, and then there's Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, then there's Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, then there's Bhaktivinoda Thakur, then there's Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. So why is this guru not in this? Now that's his Diksha guru of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, known as Vipin Bihari Goswami. The reason is that sometimes the Diksha guru may be less prominent than the Siksha guru. Okay, so to have a Diksha guru is very important. We all have to take a Diksha guru to get to Lord Krishna. We cannot, none of us, no matter whether we be chanting the Hare Krishna mantra at the end of life, we will not get to Lord Krishna unless we have a guru, unless we have a formal guru. So no matter what anyone says, you have to have a guru to get to Lord Krishna, even if you are chanting for the rest of your life. That's what scriptures say. So the fact of the matter is that his Diksha guru was actually inferior to his Siksha guru. So Siksha guru was Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, who is actually in our Sampradaya. He's the one on the right of the picture, the far right. So he's actually Siksha guru, and he's the one that actually gave all the instructions and empowered him to write these books. Okay, he met his Siksha guru in Vrindavan Dham in 1898, it says, and from that he got all these instructions. But anyhow, he had instructions prior to that from other acharyas. So, in fact, there's an interesting story that one time Bhaktivinoda Thakur went and saw his Diksha guru, Bihari Goswami, at his ashram, and he took along his 12-year-old son, who happened to be Vimal Prasad. So Vimal Prasad was the 4th son of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, right? So Vimal Prasad later became known as Bhaktisiddhanta, okay? The very famous acharya. So when Vimal Prasad saw this guru, he could immediately tell that there was something different about this guru. But anyhow, the fact is that when Bhaktivinoda Thakur, being humble and in his humility, he actually paid his obeisances to his guru, who then put his feet on Bhaktivinoda Thakur's head. Okay, so this is a guru putting feet on the head of a manjari. Okay, but the guru did not know that. Okay, but Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, being a 12-year-old boy, knew what was Krishna's father. So anyways, Bhaktivinoda Thakur paid his respects and he left the room, but his son stayed behind. And he chastised his father's guru. He said, "What have you done? Do you know who my father is? He's the eternal associate of Radha Krishna. So you have no right to do this." He was telling his father's guru some shiksha. So his father's guru, became bewildered. He says, "Who's this boy telling me this?" So after a while, his father came back and he told Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he said that your son is, very audacious. He's saying things that he should not be saying. But anyways, Bhaktivinoda Thakur knew that his son had special powers, and later when he left the room, he actually was inside very happy that he had said this. And in fact, when he used to meet his friends, he said, "Look, he's going to be a guru later on in life." So he knew the power of his son. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur followed a very, very strict schedule. He was a grest. He did all his duties. At the court, he rendered decisions within 5 minutes, whereas other judges used to take many, many hours to render a decision. So people became envious of him. And then he used to go home, he used to do sadhana, and then write books from 10 p.m. till 4 a.m. What are his works and contributions? Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote over 100 books, okay? Wrote over 100 books. That's why he's entitled as a seventh Goswami. I don't know how many verses he wrote. We know that Jiva Goswami wrote over 4 lakh verses. So he's one of the Goswamis, and many other Goswamis wrote many, many verses. So similarly, Bhaktivinoda Thakur earned the title as the seventh Goswami. He also wrote many, many poems, and many, many bhajans. In fact, it says that if we actually lose his books, which is not going to happen hopefully, but who knows, with the onslaught of Kali Yuga, we'll lose the books. But it said that if you lose all his books, then if his bhajans stay, and if he simply studies bhajans, you will get all the nectar from the Vedas. In fact, his bhajans contain all the verses of all the Vedas. So that's the power of his bhajans. So that's why it's very, very important to honor only the bhajans of the Vaishnavacharyas. That's why we only sing their bhajans to get the essence of the Vedas. And by getting the essence of the Vedas, you can go back to Godhead. So simply by reading and reciting his bhajans, you can go back to Godhead without having to read his books. There's actually a conversation between Srila Prabhupada and Vishnujan Swami back in the early 70s in LA, where Prabhupada told Vishnujan Swami, so Vishnujan Swami was one of the early sannyasis of Srila Prabhupada. Some of you may know him, Vishnujan Swami. He actually left his body in Prayag, and there's a story behind that, but we won't share that at this time. So Vishnujan Swami was very, very dear to Prabhupada. So Prabhupada told him that Bhaktivinoda Thakur had said that my work, I left without finishing my work. So Prabhupada immediately said, it is up to us to finish the work. So that's what he told Vishnujan Swami, and that's why Prabhupada said he had come to finish the work of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Okay, so the story goes is that Bhaktivinoda Thakur then later became the Pujari, the head priest and the head administrator of Jagannath Puri at the age of 70, and he also cleaned up the irregular practices of Jagannath Puri. And his most important contribution was his son, Vimal Prasad, who basically was Srila Prabhupada's guru. Now, in closing, let's see how much time we have. Okay, so it's almost 6 minutes to 9:30. So in closing, Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually gave 3 predictions. Okay, these are very, very important predictions. Now, before he gave these predictions, there's one important thing that he also did, which I should mention, is that he actually discovered the yoga pit of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So up until that time, no one knew where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had actually appeared. Okay. So it was said that he actually appeared in Navadvip, which was incorrect. He actually appeared under the Jalangi River. There's many, many theories. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur knew that that was not correct. So what he did is that he consulted the local Brahmins, the local people of Nadyadam, the local texts, and the local maps. And from that, he knew that this place was some other place across the river. So in his home, in Swananda Kunj, one day when he was at nighttime around 10 o'clock, he saw this bright light come across the river, and he knew that the bright light was something of a special nature. The next night, he also, when he was doing his bhajan, he actually saw this bright light from far away, and he knew that this was something that was very, very important. So the next day he went there, and he actually found that there was this mound of tulsi that was growing at that area. So he knew that this is likely where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had taken his appearance. So he asked the local people, and he said, yes, this is where Mahaprabhu has taken his appearance. Okay, so to confirm his suspicion, what did he do? He got his Shiksha Guru, he got Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. Now Jagannath Babaji Maharaj, if you know from the pictures, Jagannath Babaji Maharaj was a pure devotee. He had some material ailments, okay, which he was above that, but he lived to an age of 144 years, okay? So at the time of 125 years, he actually his back had started to curve. So much so that they had to actually carry him on the back. So one of his disciples, known as Bihari, used to carry his guru on his back wherever he used to go. And he used to spend 6 months in Navadvip Dham and 6 months in Vrindavan Dham. But whenever he used to go to temples, etc., or give darshan, they had to carry him on his back. So the time that he went to this yoga pit, they actually carried him in a basket. And immediately this 142-year-old guru jumped out of the basket 4 feet in the air, and he's 7 foot long. So he started jumping up and down and chanting Jai Satchidananda, Jai Satchidananda. He knew that that was the appearance place of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that basically told everyone that this is definitely the appearance place of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So what are the three predictions? The three predictions is that, first of all, Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, is that there will be a personality that will appear in a short course of time that will actually spread the holy name of the world throughout the world. And who is that personality? Srila Prabhupada, yes. So he predicted the advent of Srila Prabhupada. The second thing that he actually predicted was that he said is that people from different countries outside of India, such as Germany, America, he actually said this, America, Britain, France, and England, they'll all, raise kartals and mridangas and harmoniums and start chanting the Harinam. So can you imagine that back over 120 years ago, who would have thought that other than Bengalis, that people would actually start playing mridangas? So that was a prediction that he made, and that's come true. If you go anywhere in the world, you'll find an ISKCON temple or some sort of Bhakti program, etc. There's no other place like that. The third prediction that he actually made was that these people, these fair-skinned people, he wrote down, these fair-skinned people will actually come to Bengal and join with the local Bengali devotees to chant Jai Satchidananda, Jai Satchidananda. And this is becoming true. When you go to Mayapur Dham, you actually find that the people from all over the world, not just the local people, that are glorifying Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Now, one more thing that I wanted to tell you is that if you go to McGill University, but actually it's not there anymore because I checked yesterday, but one of the books that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually sent to McGill University in Montreal was called Lord Chaitanya, The Life and Precepts. So he sent this book to McGill University, and that was in 1896. Now what actually happened in 1896? So that's right, Srila Prabhupada appeared in 1896 on September 1st, 1896. So that happened, so that's again not a coincidence. And it is said that that was the first year that was officialized as the book distribution year. So for all the book distributors in this room, that is the actual time that the book was distributed. And we all know that this book distribution is very near and dear to Srila Prabhupada. So it is no coincidence that that was actually authorized and institutionalized by Bhaktivinoda Thakur for his pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada. Okay, but anyhow, the book is no longer available in McGill University. Why? Because it was found that Prabhupada knew that this book was there. He sent some of his devotees to actually see this book. So, whatever happened after that is only suspect, but maybe someone took this book out of the library because it was actually the book that was held by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his hands. So I'm sure someone took it as prasad. Okay, so it's not available in McGill University. So in closing, one other thing I wanted to mention was that I mentioned some dates as well, and we know that astrological dates are not centered around the Acharya. The astrology actually centers around the Acharya. The Acharya is not centered around the astrology. That is, the planets and stars have to actually, when Lord Krishna comes, the stars have to sort of, place themselves and push themselves for his birth. Okay, Lord Krishna does not do that. He does not do that for them. He does not do that for them. They do that for him. But similarly, for the great Acharyas, we know that time, place, and circumstance is beyond them. Kadesha, Patra, Kala, these three things are beyond them, okay? So, I'll give you an example. So, when Prabhupada met his Guru Maharaj, it happened when? In 1922, right? It happened, first time that Narendra Malak took him to his Guru Maharaj was in August in 1922. So there's a rule of 11s. And in fact, one of the astrologers came to Prabhupada and told him that, Prabhupada, your life history is by the rule of 11s. So what does that mean? So in 1922, he met his Guru for the first time. In 1933, in Allahabad, he got his initiation, his first initiation from Bhaktisiddhanta. In 1944, what happened? In 1944, Back to Godhead came out. It actually came out on the